Every city has a guy everyone knows about. You could be visiting a friend from another city, see a guy dressed in robes riding a horse, and your friend will say, "Oh, that's horseback Jesus. So, who's the guy in your town?" The God bless you kid. He goes around the town doing odd jobs and asking for change. Sometimes he just walks up to people to tell random kid stories and leaves without even asking for money. Like, "I found a rat as big as a cat. I made him my pet but now he's gone. God bless you." That gives me heavy Bethesda NPC vibes. My college campus had a guy named Blades who wore sunglasses and rollerbladed around campus. Then he dyed his hair blue and cut it into a mohawk because he thought it would look cool, and everyone I was friends with started calling him Sonic the Shredhog. Sounds like it worked. Sonic the Shredhog is a premium nickname. Schenectady, NY, we have Malay Man. Some random chubby dude who can always be found wandering the streets wielding and brandishing some practice Malay weapon. Some days it's a katana, some days it's a bow staff, sometimes he's dual wielding war axes. Malay Man. He's not the hero we really need right now, but he's the hero we deserve. He is training with weapons to save the world when the time comes. Cross Guy. He has a large wooden cross mounted in a wagon that he drags around downtown and tells people they are going to heck if they don't repent. Oh, we had someone kind of like that. He had about 30 laminated signs all over his clothes and backpack and sometimes bike trailer all about the hellfire in which I will surely spend eternity if I don't let this guy scream about Jesus to me. RD. He was a local drug addict who used to stand outside the local supermarket and play a guitar and sing very out of tune. Most people liked him because he was harmless and used to be a session musician of some reputation. The entire town went to his funeral. It was packed. We had a man like that in The Hague. R.I.P. Chuck Dealey. Vern, the mayor. This is not an elected position. The town is too small to have a mayor. He is just the biggest drunk everyone knows. My town had Bicycle Bob. He used to live in the woods by the highway and spend his days riding his bicycle down by the grocery store. His parents were apparently rich and would pick him up and take him to Florida every winter, then bring him back in the spring. Haven't seen him in a few years though. It's okay. His parents took him upstate so he could ride his bicycle all day chasing rabbits. Roller Rabbi, more commonly known around as Relurdus. Basically an Orthodox Jewish man in full Jewish garbs that's always skating around town on his rollerblades. Sometimes in a costume if it's a Jewish holiday. I was going to mention our local rollerblading dude, Benny the Bleed, who wears 80s ski outfit in the winter and has the California 80s blonde, long hair. He rides around town all the time on his blades when there isn't snow on the ground. That's it. It's simply an amuse-bouche to your 3-star Michelin reference. There's a homeless dude that rides around on his bike with his cat on his shoulder, like a parrot. Dude's going like 20 miles per hour on the bike and the cat is just chillin'. Everyone knows him, and people buy food for his cat all the time. Reminds me of James Bowen. Dancing Gabe, a sweet kind of old guy who dances and has Down syndrome. Two guys come to mind for Rochester, NY. Was this really old jogger with long white hair and a long white beard. Might be dead by now though. Also the conhead, one of the guys that walks up and down the aisles selling peanuts and beer at hockey, soccer, baseball games. He wears a conhead, like from the movies. Been doing it for like 30 years now and everyone knows him. Conhead is awesome. Also there's that guy loudly reading scripture condemning all us sinners going into Blue Cross Arena. I don't think my city has that guy, but I would really like to hear more about Horseback Jesus. If you don't think your town has that guy, you are that guy. I lived in Milwaukee for a long time. We had Wolverine. I think I heard he had some sort of injury and was more or less retired. In Liverpool there is Purple Archie-Long, thought to be an unwritten myth used by parents to threaten their kids with. Turns out he's real. He's a big black bodybuilder who is barking mad, always approaching young men wanting to feel their muscles, and making them do squats in the street. He's been arrested quite a lot and has multiple court orders banning him from feeling people's muscles. He ends up in Manchester a lot too. I was on the tram once and he got on. Never been so happy that I'm a skinny guy. Florida man's sidekick. Broward County man. I think it's Florida law that each county must have at least one oddball hero capable of great acts of misconduct, public indecency, Enfield rampages, and bizarrely wholesome acts of kindness. We have Street Fighter. He's a dude who claims to be a street fighter for money, known to be usually on drugs and potentially violent. Guy threatens to stab people or offers to fight your friends for cash. If he fights people on streets he is one, rather than just claiming to be. Not my town, but at Leeds Festival there's Festival Jesus, who walks round with a flock of followers and places ecstasy pills on their tongues during communion. During a Kasabian show in 2017 he would get people on their knees in the middle of mosh pits and bless them and raise them up by holding their foreheads. Lol. This both doesn't surprise and fills me with a warm nostalgia. He's called Spaghetti Man and honestly I have no idea why. He's a children's entertainer I think. He shows up at all the local festivals and fairs, wears a light blue suit jacket with the name Spaghetti Man crudely stamped on the back. He dances and talks to kids and makes balloon animals sometimes. No one seems to have a recollection of when they became aware of him. He's just always been there. Super nice guy though, literally always smiling and having fun. Some teenagers supposedly beat him up a few years ago but he still came back out and did his thing, so good for him. Make sure he doesn't get on any talk shows. Vancouver, BC. Commercial Drive has the topless roller skating old woman. City Hall has Baklava Man. Commercial Broadway Safeway has the potato chip groper. Chicken George. Beard down to his belly button and dresses like Flavor Flav. Hi, I know a brother named Chicken Wing John. I like this guy though lol. I'm from Waltham MA and this was in the 1980s and 90s. Our guy was the guy who wears a sailor hat and waves at traffic all day. Old guy, maybe 60s, with a bushy white beard. He would always stand on the same street corner every day, wearing a military style brimmed hat with an anchor on it and just wave at traffic. Sometimes he had a coffee, sometimes not. He wasn't out there every day, usually on nice days. I found out eventually that he was an elderly mentally challenged man who lived on that street and that's just something he enjoyed doing. Reminds me of Flag Lady in Morden. She would just sit at her window in her second floor apartment on Highland Ave and wave little flags all the time. She always had a smile on her face. It was so wholesome seeing. Keeta Bear. Bear that plays a Keeta in the subway. Also notable, spare change guy, Elliot Davis. Neighboring town had a fellow who was called Shower with Jeff. In the early 90s, he liked to show up at open mic events and perform a song he'd written, called Shower with Jeff. I don't remember all the lyrics, just this one, Shower with GF, for the refreshment of a lifetime. Somewhere I have a snapshot of him performing this very song outside at the town's college campus. Jeff is still in town, but I'm not sure if he still performs, other than doing custodial work here and there, usually pushing a broom and always very active. He looks exactly the same, slightly porchy, a curly brown afro, oversized glasses, always wearing a buttoned white shirt. Mentally ill guy that wears a graduation robe and mortarboard everywhere, and absolutely nothing underneath it. Always hate it when people don't wear shoes. In Sydney in the 90s there was the crazy homeless lady with the most amazing voice that projected throughout the downtown buildings of the CBD and you could hear her singing from several city blocks away just from the sound of her voice bouncing off the buildings. It was like she was born with a loudspeaker inside her throat. She didn't actually sing anything common or typical, she would just sing in a kind of operatic form and elevate her voice to an incredible pitch and it would rock the foundations. She was probably an experienced opera singer or something and fell on hard times or suffered some dark crap in her life, but her vocal talents were insane. There's the homeless guy who holds up a sign that simply reads "Need me a fat bee." There's the woman who skips all over Capitol Hill every morning dressed as a Harlequin. There's the old, super fried hippie dude waving colored scarves at every single festival in the city. I'm probably forgetting a few. This sounds like Seattle. We legit have a dude who dresses up as Batman, and even drives a Batmobile. Slapshot Abe was our guy. He died a few years back. He fried his brain when he was younger. Got the name from walking around town with a hockey stick and shooting chunks of snow and ice at people. He would hitchhike everywhere and always got picked up. He was harmless. although he often smelled pretty badly. Chicago has the tamale guy, but it's not just one guy, it's several of them. They come into the bars at night with a cooler full of homemade tamales and sell them to drunk people for pretty cheap. They are delicious. Yes, you get a huge bag of them for like $5 and they show up everywhere. I've been to some punk shows hidden on the outskirts of the city on the south side and they came by. Cookie, the town drunk who rides his lawnmower around town waving at everybody. Pirate Steve, lol, he's just always dressed as a pirate and he's always downtown in our small town. Diaperhead was a homeless guy in my town for years, haven't seen him in a while. I live in Westwood and commute to UCLA, we have Andre. Pipe bomb Tom and detonator Dan, they blew a lot of crap up back in their day. I don't know which stories are true and which are made up, but my favorite is them emptying the school acetylene tanks into a tractor tire, driving it into the country and setting it off. You can hear the banjo music just by looking at them. Of all the people you can imagine handling explosives, they aren't it. Savannah's King Tut wears Egyptian robes and headgear, tends to ride the bus. The Mirror Lady, Back Bay Boston when I was getting my bachelor's degree, 2010 to 2014. This little Asian lady would walk around Back Bay holding a hand mirror up to her face to watch behind her. She would walk around looking in the mirror and yell crazy things at people calling them W and other things. I wonder if she's still around. Yeah, there is Le Cowboy du Centerville. I think he has a mental problem but he is really nice. Everybody know him and talk to him sometime. He wear cowboy boots and hat and dance like Michael Jackson. Keeta Bear, pretty self-explanatory, a busker who wears a bear costume and plays Keeta. Elliot Davis, known scammer who tells you some sob story about having a flat tire and needing money to buy fix a flat. Madison, I had Scanner Dan, developmentally disabled guy who always carried a police scanner and hung out on State Street. Tunnel Bob, lived in the fallout tunnels beneath the city. Tunnel Bob is still kicking it in the steam tunnels under Madison. Tunnel Bob is the best. Dancing Guy, the man who walks down the side of the busiest road every day wearing headphones, dancing and smiling. Any weather, any given time of day, you could see him. I wonder if we are from the same town lol. I posted something similar. I think I am, actually, wherever I live. I always go on walks every day after work to smoke a joint and listen to my podcasts. There was an active Facebook page dedicated to me where I used to live, about 10 kilometers from where I live now, calling me the walker because I was out every day rain or shine, sometimes twice a day. The page isn't active anymore because I don't live in that area, but it was funny to log on there and see pictures from people's windows saying found him. Taco Bell pee guy, speaks for itself. The man likes tacos and watching pee in public. Dancing Dan. There is a guy who cheers on the local university sports team. He has long hair and beard and they call him Baseline Jesus. When our university advanced to the Final Four in basketball a few years ago, there was a fundraiser to send him to the tournament. Enough was raised and he went. Dan Doty, aka Downtown Dan. He's a nice guy. Pretty much all his screws are loose, but he always remembered everyone who would talk to him by name. Nobody I quite sure of his story and how he came to be Downtown Dan. We all thought he was homeless for years, but it turns out he's in some sort of assisted living. He wandered the streets here for probably close to 20 years just making his rounds, asking for change and bumming smokes. One time I bummed him a couple cigarettes and then 10 minutes later he offered one to me because he just found out he has 3 cigarettes. Guy didn't remember I was who just gave them to him, but he was generous all the same. Not sure whatever happened to him. There's a woman who drives around holding a small cross out her window and screaming unintelligibly in this insanely grating voice. She scared the pee out of me when she was next to me at a stoplight. You have been visited by the party pug. He just wants you to celebrate with him. Comment woohoo to celebrate with the party pug. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.